Good afternoon, delegates and friends. Firstly, thank you for tuning in to our conference this weekend. This is our fourth national conference, and although it's been a different type of conference, it's our biggest to date. It's a source of real pride for Catherine and myself to lead a party of such passion and enthusiasm, a party of progressive ideas. It's less than 6 years since we came together to form the Social Democrats. We did so because we believed that Irish people were seeking a different kind of politics, and that's what we provide. People responded to what we stand for: a strong economy, a fair society, and honest politics. And our electoral support has steadily grown. 2 years ago, we trebled our number of councillors. Last year, we trebled our number of TDs, and that's our ambition, to again treble our numbers in the next election. We want to build our party's strength so that we can provide an authentic alternative, a social democratic alternative, to the stale and regressive politics which hold back our country. Our success in last year's election has been a huge source of pride for all of us. It is really wonderful to be part of a Dáil team of 6 TDs. Our 4 new TDs have made a very big difference, as we always knew they would, of course. Holly has proven that the vision of social democracy has an audience right across Ireland. She has demonstrated that the depiction of rural Ireland as conservative is not only untrue, but also insulting. Whether for sustainable agriculture, whether for fishing, those with disabilities, or survivors of mother and baby homes, she has been a vocal and effective advocate. Housing is a priority issue for our party. Keane is actively campaigning for decent housing that's affordable for those on average incomes, in contrast to a government whose policies continue to be developer-led. He's one of the few politicians who has been vocal on the scandal of homelessness. As our whip, he has worked to ensure that the government does not escape accountability. And all of that, as well as being our spokesperson on Brexit. Jennifer has been doing a really substantial work on the climate bill, while challenging the government to deliver a just transition. She has championed the interests of our children at every turn and is active on CETA in respect of the investor court system. Just this week, she led on our private members' motion on mother and baby homes, which attracted much media attention. In education and social protection, Gary has spoken up for students and young people, especially those in danger of being left behind. He has been a voice for social justice and anti-poverty issues. And thankfully, we are now much more efficient in doing our business since Gary became the chair of our parliamentary party. We want to thank all of them for all the work they have done to date. And in doing so, of course, we also want to thank our councillors and indeed all of our members for all of the work that you do in promoting our aims and in living our values every day in our local communities. Most of all, we want to thank the thousands of people who voted for us at each point along the way. Thank you for placing your trust in the Social Democrats. And you know, we're only just beginning. It is 12 months since COVID arrived on our shores. It has been devastating for the country and has challenged people in ways none of us could have imagined. Whether for those who have lost loved ones, those who've lost jobs, those who've lost their businesses, those struggling with mental health issues or loneliness, the stress and strain has been really difficult and has impacted every one of us. We owe so many people a debt of gratitude for helping us through this awful time. Our frontline healthcare workers, who have been incredible. We also thank all of those service workers in supermarkets, in transport, local authorities, and so many others. The development of a number of vaccines has provided great hope for everyone. It's critical that a fully resourced and staffed plan is in place and ready to be rolled out on a mass scale as soon as bigger quantities become available. But in the meantime, the government need to take concrete steps to avoid a fourth lockdown and to give the country a fighting chance of getting back to some level of normality. We call on government to take the following actions. Set a target case number of, say, 10, a low target which we can work together to drive down the daily figures. We got them to single digits in July. With political leadership, we can do that again. Properly resource our public health doctors so that we can have effective testing and retrospective tracing to establish where transmission of the virus is taking place. Stop the importation of the virus and its new variants with full mandatory hotel quarantining. Direct employers to facilitate as many people as possible to work from home. Provide financial support to low-paid and vulnerable immigrant workers when they need to isolate. Require supermarkets and other retail outlets to reinstate precautionary arrangements to limit numbers and strictly adhere to public health advice. And we need to establish a high-level North-South task force under the framework of the Good Friday Agreement to develop an all-island strategy. COVID has exposed huge weaknesses in how public services are provided in this country. Whether that's in the severe lack of capacity in our public health service, or the government's market-led approach to childcare and the care of older people, or indeed the consequences of denying vulnerable workers a living wage or basic rights like sick pay, or the underfunding of education and our overcrowded classrooms. All of these things and more have been seriously found wanting when faced with a crisis. Of course, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are content to have an arm's-length relationship with public services, abdicating their responsibility for providing them. They have this warped view that public services are just for those who can't afford to pay for them privately. Contrast to that the social democratic view of the world, which believes in the social contract, where everyone is expected to pay their taxes according to their means, and in return, everyone has access to good quality, universal public services. Social democratic societies are based on equality and sustainability, and we know that more equal societies are also more cohesive societies, and therefore more successful. The pandemic has taught us what else is important, what matters when the chips are down. The importance of spending time with family and friends, the importance of good neighbours and good local supports, the importance of safe places to play and to take exercise. When we work our way out of this pandemic, there can be no going back to the old ways of doing things. We must learn the lessons of the past year and make sure that when we build our way back, we do that much better.
Another major area COVID further exposed is that of housing. It has the biggest impact on an individual's or family budget. It drives wage demands and the cost base of business. A secure, affordable place to live is one of the basics of living fulfilling, dignified lives and of developing solid communities. Yet, the government has continued to favour a market-based approach. That will not deliver housing that is affordable to ordinary people on average incomes. We can see this at every turn, from the expensive and chaotic HAP system to the new scandal of long-term leasing, where 25-year leases effectively means a developer's mortgage is paid for the duration and they own the house at the end. We can see REITs getting free rein over our rental market and a continued reliance on privately owned land banks for the sole provision of houses for sale. Is it any wonder ordinary people either can't find housing that is affordable, or they spend their whole working lives trying to afford to keep the housing they've managed to grapple for? Or that a locked out generation grows increasingly frustrated at how out of reach housing has become? Will they be forced to do what previous generations did? Give up and emigrate? So what would we do differently? We would start by changing the remit of the Land Development Agency. It must be about project management of public lands and not a clearinghouse for a sale and subsidy approach. We would use the public land that is available to build affordable homes. Such an approach would achieve economies of scale rather than deliver a developer bounty. All the evidence points to direct build as the most cost-efficient method of delivery of good quality, affordable housing. Bringing down the cost of housing is fundamental for us. To do this, we would seek to take speculation out of housing. A referendum needs to be held at the earliest possible date in 2021. A successful referendum would allow for the implementation of the Kenny report as far back as the 1970s. This report identified land hoarding and the speculation in zoned land as central to the cost of housing, yet it has remained unimplemented. A successful referendum would allow the state to cap the cost of building land and bring down the cost of housing. Social democracy strives for a republic of equals, a real republic which recognises that achieving equality is about more than just providing opportunities. It's about ensuring fair outcomes. This republic of equals must be rights-based, modern and pluralistic. Civic society must exist separately. For that reason, a modern democracy has to include separating church and state. The Social Democrats respect the role of different faiths in the lives of many people. But the blurring of the lines between church and state that led to so many abuses is still, unfortunately, part of modern Ireland. We are seeking an agreed approach, and we are calling for a citizens' assembly to be established to look at the role of religion in areas like health and education and in public life. This would be done in a respectful, deliberative and evidence-based way, which has been the hallmark of citizens' assemblies to date. For us, the economy must serve society, not the other way around. When we founded, we emphasised the need for a strong economy. That means strong and vibrant small, medium and large businesses. There are huge challenges ahead and enormous damage has been done by COVID. A planned recovery needs to focus on ensuring that damage is limited, and it will require continuing targeted supports. Strong public services support a strong economy. They're not in competition. Coming out of the pandemic, we need to reimagine the role of the state and rethink our economy. We can't build a strong, resilient and efficient economy on the back of low pay, precariousness and impoverished working conditions. It undermines our public finances, warps our markets and flies in the face of a decent society. Our society will need a recovery led by good businesses with good jobs, where there is a living wage and the right to be represented through free collective bargaining. This economy must come with quality of life built in and it must ensure that the cost of living is managed and controlled. Our approach will always be to invest in public services over tax cuts as the best way of achieving these aims. Coming out of the pandemic, accountability and honest politics must be hallmarks of a modern republic we're seeking to build. We need to rethink our politics. We need to deliver an acceptable standard of services for our citizens, services people are proud of and are happy to use. Those services must be designed in a citizen-centred way, easily navigated without having to rely on their local TD or councillor in order to avail of services that they're entitled to. Where there's objective allocation of resources, meaning services are delivered where they're shown to be needed. We have to see an end to governments using taxpayers' money as a kind of political slush fund in order to retain power. Effectively, this is the alternative to clientelist politics, which is relied on to deliver votes. Citizen-centred services that work, build trust, are empowering. They build confidence in the state and in public goods. They're a central feature of a republic of equals. Politics for us is about people participating in the process of creating a better future for our society. The people who have joined us, of all ages, from many different walks of life, are involved in politics to help create that better future. We are seeing the ongoing establishment of branches, and our ambition is to be organised in every constituency. I'm delighted to say we're making steady progress in relation to that. Not only have we established new branches, but we've seen an impressive growth in our membership, particularly since the general election. Our aim is to grow the Social Democrats, not for its own sake, but because we see it as essential to delivering a different future, a better future. You can follow change or you can lead change. We, all of us, are here today because we know we can help lead that change. That vision looks at the next election, but crucially, it looks beyond the next election. It looks to the next generation. It's a vision which we are confident that a better Ireland can be built. An Ireland with a health service where people don't fear being sick. An Ireland where there's ample supply of housing people can afford. An Ireland where community and quality of life matter, where people can live dignified and fulfilled lives. An Ireland where people have time for what matters. And we know this is possible. Our ambition is to be the party of the better Ireland. Our ambition is to make our social democratic vision a reality. Thank you.